Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
Good morning, I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moscow. Here are the stories we're following today.
Karen, we begin the first trading day of the month of June with meme stocks on the move. Let's get the latest with Bloomberg's John Tucker. John.
Yeah, Nathan, GameStop shares rocketing higher this morning. This comes after the Reddit account that drove the meme stock mania of 2021 posted what appeared to be a $116 million position in the game retailer. A screenshot by Keith Gill shows 5 million shares bought at $21.27 per share. The screenshot, which also included 120,000 call options, couldn't be verified. On social media, Gill, using his account handle Roaring Kitty, also posted an image of an Uno reverse card. The post had attracted more than 4.5 million views in about 5 hours. You'll recall that back in mid-May, Gill returned to X with an image of a video game person leaning in, fueling anticipation. He's going to actively return to the market. Well, other meme stocks, they're also getting a boost. Shares of GameStop, will start there. They are up right now 69%. Shares of AMC Entertainment, they're up 26%. I'm John Tucker, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, John, thank you. Well, we're also seeing Nvidia shares on the move. They're up almost 3%. The company is planning to upgrade its AI accelerator chips every year as it seeks to broaden its customer base beyond cloud computing giants. CEO Jensen Huang announced a new Blackwell Ultra chip for next year and the development of an AI platform called Rubin for 2026.
Your future laptop, your future PC will become an AI. It'll be constantly helping you, assisting you in the background. The PC will also run applications that are enhanced by AI. And your PC will also host applications with digital humans that are AIs.
Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang was speaking at the Computex conference in Taiwan. He compared the rise of AI to the Industrial Revolution.
And not to be outdone, Karen, Advanced Micro Devices is speeding up introductions of new artificial intelligence processors as it seeks to dent Nvidia's domination of that lucrative market. AMD's CEO Lisa Su was also at the Computex conference in Taiwan. She says the MI 325X will go on sale in the fourth quarter.
Well, Nathan, stocks in India surged to a record after exit polls signaled an emphatic victory for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's ruling party. Winning by a landslide would enable Modi's party to push through policies that are seen as crucial by some investors for boosting India's economic growth, already among the world's fastest.
And another important election we're looking at this morning, Karen, is in South Africa. The ruling African National Congress has now begun talks with its rivals to form a government. The move comes after the party lost its parliamentary majority for the first time since Nelson Mandela led it to power at the end of apartheid in 1994. ANC leader Cyril Ramaphosa says the result is a sign the South African people wanted more cooperation among major parties.
What this election has made plain is that the people of South Africa expect their leaders to work together to meet their needs. They expect the parties for which they have voted to act and work together for the good of everyone.
Ramaphosa's ANC got a vote share of just over 40%. That's down from more than 57% 5 years ago.
Well, Nathan, to the latest from the Middle East now, the White House is continuing to push what it says is an Israeli proposal to end the war with Hamas. National Security spokesman John Kirby discussed it on ABC's This Week.
Where we are right now is that proposal, an Israeli proposal, has been given to Hamas. It was done on Thursday night, our time. We're waiting for an official response from Hamas. We would note that publicly, Hamas officials came out and welcomed this proposal. So what we hope would happen is they would agree to start phase one as soon as possible.
White House spokesman John Kirby says that phase one would be a 6-week truce where hostages and prisoners would be exchanged, followed by a second phase focused on a permanent ceasefire, then major reconstruction in Gaza. But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the plan he's agreed to does not include a permanent ceasefire. In a statement, he says that would be a non-starter unless Hamas's capabilities are destroyed and all hostages are freed first.
In other political news, Karen, Donald Trump's legal team is now confirming it is readying an appeal to his recent convictions in the hush money trial. We get that story from Bloomberg's Ed Baxter.
Trump attorney Will Sharp says it deals with judicial fairness.
We're going to speedily appeal this unjust verdict. I think this case is replete with reversible error. We plan to vigorously defend President Trump's rights in the appellate courts all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court if necessary.
On ABC is heard on Bloomberg saying problems with jury instruction and denial of change of venue. Congressman Adam Schiff, co-chair of the January 6th committee, says the reaction to venue is simple.
If you don't want to be tried in front of a New York jury, then maybe don't commit so many crimes in New York City.
Schiff says he sees no grounds for appeal, does say the whole process will definitely take beyond Election Day. Ed Baxter, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, Ed, thank you. Well, a survey by Bloomberg shows that investors are worried about the Federal Reserve's independence if Donald Trump is reelected as president in November. 44% of those responding to our Markets Live Pulse survey said they expect the former president to politicize the central bank or limit its power if he returns to the White House. They also expect volatility in the bond market in the event of a Trump victory, with around a quarter seeing the 10-year Treasury yield jumping by more than 25 basis points.
And speaking of the Fed, Karen, we're getting more signals that the central bank is going to stand pat for a while. Minneapolis Fed President Neil Kashkari tells the Financial Times the Fed will likely keep interest rates on hold for an extended period of time. He says new economic data will need to convince policymakers that inflation is on the way down.
Well, Nathan, we have some deal news to get you caught up on this morning. Bloomberg News has learned film producer David Ellison's latest offer for Paramount Global includes an option for non-voting shareholders to cash out a portion of their stock for about $15 a share. The offer, a roughly 26% premium to Friday's closing price, is for only some of the shares. The cash payout is the latest attempt by Ellison to sweeten the terms of a deal that has faced opposition from some investors. Shares of Paramount up around 4% this morning.
And another stock on the move this morning is Stericycle. Karen, those shares are up about 4.5%. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that Waste Management is close to a deal to buy that medical waste disposal company.
And it's time now for a look at some of the other stories making news in New York and around the world. And for that, we're joined by Bloomberg's Michael Barr. Michael, good morning.
Good morning, Karen. Mexico's projected election winner, Claudia Sheinbaum, will become the first woman president in the country's 200-year history.
¡Que viva México! ¡Viva México! ¡Viva México!
The climate scientist and former Mexico City mayor said last night that her two competitors had called her and conceded her victory. Sheinbaum had between 58 and almost 61% of the vote. For the first time ever, Mexican nationals living in the Chicago area were allowed to cast their vote at the Consulate General in the city. Hundreds lined up all day waiting for hours to cast their ballot, including this woman.
For me, it's the most important election of my lifetime.
Sheinbaum said that the voting had been peaceful, but Mexico's largest ever elections were also the deadliest in its modern history, with attacks carried out against candidates and people close to them. Jury selection is set to begin today in the federal gun case against President Joe Biden's son after a deal with prosecutors fell apart that would have avoided the spectacle of a trial so close to the 2024 election. Hunter Biden has been charged with lying on federal gun purchase forms when he said he wasn't a drug addict. He has pleaded not guilty. Hunter Biden is also facing a separate trial in California in September on charges of failing to pay $1.4 million in taxes. More than 60 U.S. World War II veterans arrived in Paris over the weekend to participate in ceremonies marking the 80th anniversary of D-Day. The youngest World War II veteran on the American Airlines flight from Dallas to Paris was 96, the oldest 107. The group was welcomed by Philippe Etienne, president of Mission Liberation and former French ambassador to the U.S.
Your presence here in France symbolizes not only the spirit of fraternity and solidarity that prevailed during those dark years, but also the unbreakable alliance between our two nations.
The former French ambassador also says there were also two Rosie the Riveters among the veterans, representing women who worked in factories and shipyards during the war. Global news 24 hours a day and whenever you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg, Aaron.
All right, Michael Barr, thank you. Time now for the Bloomberg Sports Update with John Stashower. John, good morning.
Good morning, Karen. The Yankees just spent 10 days in California. They won 2 of 3 in San Diego, took 2 of 3 in Anaheim, and it looked like that was how the series was going to go in San Francisco. The Yanks trailed in the 9th inning.
Here 1-0. Swing and a fly ball. Deep right field. Yastrzemski turns and watches. It is gone. A go-ahead two-run blast by Juan Soto. He gives the Yankees the lead in the top of the ninth, going over the 24-foot high wall in right.
On WFAN, Soto's blast part of a 4-run rally. Yanks beat the Giants 7-5 for a series sweep and a 7-2 road trip. Soto had earlier homered in the first inning at Citi Field. Arizona's Ketel Marte also homered in the first and the ninth. 2-run shot off Jake Diekman to rally the Diamondbacks past the Mets 5-4. So the Mets went 9-19 in May. They're 0-2 in June. Red Sox blew a 3-0 lead loss to Detroit, 8-4, 10 innings. Nationals won 5-2 in Cleveland. The Orioles with just their second loss in the last 10, beaten by Tampa Bay 4-3. It'll be the Panthers and Oilers playing for the Stanley Cup. It'll be the longest distance between the two cities in Cup final history. In Edmonton, Oilers scored twice in the first period. That was enough to finish off Dallas 2-1, taking the West Final 4-2. At the French Open, fourth round wins for Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. Novak Djokovic plays today back from his third round win that took 4.5 hours and ended at 3 a.m. Paris time. The lefty from Scotland, Robert McIntyre's first PGA win in Canada. He won with his father as his caddy. Yuka Sasso won the U.S. Women's Open for the second time. She's only 22. Simone Biles now 27. She won the U.S. Gymnastics title for the 9th time. Next up, the Olympic trials next month. John Stashauer, Bloomberg Sports, Karen and Nathan.
Coast to coast on Bloomberg Radio, nationwide on Sirius XM, and around the world on Bloomberg.com and the Bloomberg Business app. This is Bloomberg Daybreak.
Good morning. I'm Nathan Hager. As we head into a new trading month, the market is feeling a bit like 2021 this morning. Meme names are seeing the biggest moves after the investing influencer known as Roaring Kitty posted what looks like a big position in GameStop, and other stocks that retail investors piled into 3 years ago are soaring off the back of it. For more on this, what else to watch for as we kick off the month of June, we are pleased to be joined by Dennis Gartman, the chairman of the University of Akron Endowment Investment Committee and the former publisher of the Gartman Letter. Dennis, good morning. Is it 2021 all over again?
Good morning, Nathan. And yes, it seems like it's 2021 all over again with the Roaring Kitty back on the front pages. I find it a little disconcerting to think that once again he's back. Once again, the memes trading is back to the forefront. That's always, to me, indicative of a market that's making a top, not the market that's making a bottom. The fact that when the public comes in aggressively and trades meme stocks, trades SPACs, trades single-day options, trades over-the-counter stocks, trades less than dollar stocks at a high rate, that's always disconcerting to me, and I think it should be disconcerting to everybody else. But this is 2021 again, and here we are one more time.
Is that the biggest indicator for you that we could be seeing a top to this market, or are there other things that you're looking at that signal that for you?
Fundamentals dictate where the market goes over broad terms. Technicals dictate where the market goes over short-term terms. And to me, one of the most important circumstances that we saw technically was 2 weeks ago. We had an outside reversal day in the S&P and the NASDAQ. That's when you go to a new all-time high, trade lower on the day, trade below the previous day's low, and do it on large volume. We had outside reversal days, and those are usually, not always, but usually indicative of market tops. To me, that was important. That was an important circumstance to pay attention to. So I think that's still driving things. What bothers me about the stock market is that on rallies, volume is declining. On declines, volume is advancing, and that too is bearish. So the technicals seem to be getting sloppy at best at this point. And I think I'm actually on the sidelines for the first time in a long period of time. And comfortable being there. I'm on the sidelines in gold. I'm on the sidelines in bonds. I'm on the sidelines in stocks because I find things very disconcerting, very confusing, and the sidelines seems to me to be the safest harbor at this point. Sidelines being cash and less than 2-year notes.
How long do you think you're going to stay on the sidelines, Dennis?
Until I come off the sidelines. That's okay. The best answer I can. That's the best answer I can give you at this point. I tried being modestly, very marginally short beginning 2 weeks ago and got stopped out on Friday, and I took a very small profit. I may be on the sidelines for a protracted period of time, certainly through the summer and through the period of time before the Fed begins the process of easing monetary policy and taking the overnight Fed funds rate lower. That's going to be until after the election this year. So I may be on the sidelines in prohibitive terms for a protracted period of time.
After the election, that still leaves the possibility that the Fed could make a move lower before the year is out. Are you still keeping a December rate move on the table?
I think if we have one, it'll be the FOMC meeting one day after the elections in early November. I think that's the possibility would be that would be the best time for them to make a move. But you have to remember, a year ago the consensus was that there'd be 5, 6, maybe even 7 cuts in the overnight Fed funds rate. And in the biweekly that I send to friends and former clients of newsletter, I maintained at that time that we have at most 1, maybe 2 cuts in the overnight Fed funds rate, which seemed to be almost laughable in its differentiation from the broad consensus. And I still think that we at most we will get 1 cut in the overnight Fed funds rate, and I think that comes in the November meeting. Maybe 2, but I have my doubts substantively. I think it'll be a protracted period of time before the Fed begins the process of taking the Fed funds rate back towards 3% over the course of the next several years.
This is Bloomberg Daybreak Today, your morning brief on the stories making news from Wall Street to Washington and beyond.
Look for us on your podcast feed at 6 a.m. Eastern each morning on Apple, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
You can also listen live each morning starting at 5 a.m. Wall Street time on Bloomberg 1130 in New York, Bloomberg 99.1 in Washington, Bloomberg 106.1 in Boston, and Bloomberg 960 in San Francisco.
Our flagship New York station is also available on your Amazon Alexa devices. Just say, Alexa, play Bloomberg 1130.
Plus, listen coast to coast on the Bloomberg Business app, SiriusXM, the iHeartRadio app, and on Bloomberg.com. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moscow. Join us again tomorrow morning for all the news you need to start your day right here on Bloomberg Daybreak.